Hair transplants in the United States, a ripoff or a great idea? That's what you will find out after watching this video, where I want to particularly talk about what are the types of individuals who will especially benefit from having their hair transplant done overseas in countries like Turkey, Mexico, even Central and Western Europe, where it's considerably cheaper than having it done in the United States. The idea for me to start this video is coming from this recent post on Reddit where a guy posted like a price list, actual price list of a clinic in the US where they start charging from like $8,000 to like $40,000 for a surgery, obviously graft dependent. But obviously if you are some like a Norwood 5 or Norwood 6 who needs 2 surgeries, probably 5 or 6,000 grafts, that could cost you from $60,000 to even $80,000 for both surgeries. After watching this video, you will find out more whether you should get a hair transplant in the US, and if not, what would be the best options for you if you want to get great quality as well. So make sure you stay tuned, and as always, before we start, shout out to our sponsor GoFiber. These are hair building fibers you can use to mask any thinning or patchy areas on your scalp to make your hair look thicker and better. So make sure you check out the link in the video description below where you can visit GoFiber, get a free sample of your choice and try them out. See if you like them. Now, before I share with you guys who are the best individuals who will benefit from having a hair transplant done overseas versus at your home country in the United States, let me start with a story of a YouTuber who got a hair transplant in the US recently. His name is Dub Family. He didn't have any budget, so he was willing to spend a lot, and he paid also like $30,000 for almost 3,000 grafts. And the story is that it actually barely covered his frontal third with pretty suboptimal hair regrowth, if you ask me. And this is quite unfortunate, and just shows that you still need to do a lot of research, even if you go to like supposedly the best out of the best, to the best specialist, and you are paying a lot of money. Even then, you need to be skeptical. You need to ask a lot of questions just to make sure that the doctor is really good. If you don't know how to do a hair transplant research properly, what to screen for, what questions to ask, make sure you watch this video after watching this one, because in that video I talk about how to find a perfect hair transplant clinic for you in 10 minutes. So watch it later, save it for then. And now pay attention to what I want to tell you. I'm definitely not against doing a hair transplant in the United States if you are going to the right doctor, if you screen him properly, and if you have a good or solid budget. So after knowing that, let me bring you to the next step of this video, where I would like to outline to you 2 types of clinics you can find in the United States. It will be the boutique type of clinics and the chain clinics. So the boutique type of clinics are the clinics where a doctor is doing 1 procedure per day with his team that is rather small, maybe 4, 5, 6 surgical assistants. That's it. Sometimes he does 1 patient in 2 days because the procedure may be more complex, complicated and whatnot. And this just shows the attention to quality, taking the time and do these things not as in a rush. So that's the boutique type of clinic I recommend. An example of that clinic would be Dr. Gary Linko. Many of you guys probably know from YouTube. He's very popular, and I do suggest you to check out his channel. It's very educational. On the other hand, we have the chain clinics. For example, Bosley. Bosley is a chain with 20 plus surgical locations across the whole country. In this type of institution or business, you pay less money for the surgery. It can range from $8,000 to $18,000 as they state on their website, whereas with the boutique type of clinics, you can pay more. You can pay something like with the Restore Hair. It can start with $8,000 and it can go all the way up to $30,000, maybe even $40,000 based on the particular doctor. So the price is cheaper with the chains. They could accept you even earlier, like faster, within a month or 2 since you applied for the surgery, because they have the capacity. However, it's going to be challenging for the clinic to also maintain such a high standard and high quality across all the chains, like the boutique clinic is able to do it, because they have only 1 team, and it's much more easier to improve the quality, to monitor the quality, to improve the skill and education of their staff, because the doctor is there with them every time and he sees it and he can correct them easily. Whereas in the other chains, it's very hard to oversee the quality, and that makes it harder to produce sustainable and consistent results of great great quality across all the chains in the country. So that's kind of like the disadvantage, I would say. So make sure you just know about this, and I would always recommend you to go for the boutique type of clinics in the US. Now, there are different boutique types of clinics in terms of price ranges. There are boutique type of clinics where the doctor is charging you maybe from $2 to maybe $3, $4, $5 per graft in the US for FUE. These are like the low-cost options, the riskier options, an equivalent of having a hair transplant in Turkey for like $1,500. You know, I would not be that much inclined like doing the surgery with these clinics because price of boutique clinics is usually a good indicator of quality. Not always, as we have seen with DAP family, but most of the time it is an indicator. For that reason, I would like to suggest you clinics like with boutique practice in the US between the range of $6 per graft FUE to $10, $11 per FUE graft. These are usually the safer options. I have a list of US clinics that are very good in my collection that you can find on my website, so you may want to check it out as well if you are interested. So that would be for somebody who is interested in having a hair transplant in the US. He doesn't want to travel, he has a good budget. Look for these types of options, guys. Now, before I share with you guys who are the two main types of guys who will definitely benefit from having a hair transplant done in Turkey or Europe and saving like 50 to 70 or 80% on their hair transplant while getting the same level of quality as the best clinics in the US, let me mention that I'm gonna be doing a live class next Sunday. It's gonna be 1 p.m. Eastern time. It's gonna be 6 p.m. UK and 7 p.m. Central European time, where I'm gonna be discussing with you the best option for a hair transplant overseas if you are willing to travel. So if you are interested in doing a hair transplant like that over this winter, make sure you click the link below where you need to fill out a short form and leave me your email so I can notify you once the Zoom meeting will start and send you the invitation. Let me talk about the two main cases or types of guys who will benefit tremendously from having a hair transplant done overseas instead of in the United States. Why I'm so confident? Well, because I've been consulting guys on this matter for the last 3 years, and I got guys from US who had done hair transplants in the US previously and then having it done in the overseas right now because they realized it wasn't so good. I have also cases where, you know, Turkey was bad and now they need a better quality, so they are not confident anymore. All right, guys, and now let me talk about the two main types of individuals who will tremendously benefit from having their hair transplant done either like overseas, Turkey, Central, Western Europe, and thus saving like 50% to 70, 80% of their money while maintaining the same quality as what they would have received with or one of the best clinics in the US. So the first group of guys would be the types of individuals who would otherwise need like 3,000 grafts transplanted or even more in the United States. And if we, for example, look at the price list from Restore Hair, so it would cost you like $31,000 for no shave, the 3,000 grafts. So what if you need 5,000 grafts? What if you need 2 surgeries? If you are like a Norwood 5 and more Norwood 6, you would need easily like 5, 6, maybe 7,000 grafts in 2 surgeries. In such case, this could cost you like 60,000 in the United States. And that many people would consider already a ripoff if I'm seeing my clients that I consult who want to have their hair transplant in Turkey or Europe, getting these types of results. Like for example, these guys who went to Turkey, and these were my clients. They paid, from 4,000 up to 10,000 euros or dollars in Turkey, and got these great results. Saved themselves 70 to 80% of their hair transplant costs in the United States or in Western or Central Europe. Like these guys who probably didn't save as much. They got maybe like 35 to 50% discounted price in Europe compared to what they would have paid in the United States. For guys who need maybe 1,000 of grafts or 1,500, it makes sense to stay in the US, save yourself the travel. Eventually you are not going to save so much. But if you need more grafts, obviously the US hair transplant market may seem like a ripoff. Now, the second group of individuals who will benefit from having their hair transplant overseas instead of the United States would be guys who need FUE, who are not interested in FUT. Now, FUT is not in such a high demand in general, as compared to FUE, and that's why the price of the FUT is also lower. So even if you have a hair transplant of 2,000, 2,500 grafts, or even 3,000 in the US, and it's going to be FUT, the price is not going to be that bad, and you will not be so inclined to travel overseas to save up a lot on that. So with FUE, the price premium that you pay is going to be higher, and the savings in the Western Europe or Turkey especially will appear much more awesome. So that always motivates more guys to travel. Also, oftentimes in the US, the FUE approach is different compared to clinics in Turkey, where they really give you what you need. And that's why guys love Turkey, because if somebody needs 3,000 grafts, in Turkey they will give him 3,000 grafts, sometimes even more. Sometimes they even overquote and give you more than you need, which is not a good thing, guys. It's called overquoting. They can overharvest your donor area because they harvest more than you need. Maybe too early, you are still young. They just kind of deplete more of the donor than it's necessary. So it's also not good, but they really give you at least what you need in Turkey, whereas in the US, they choose that, I call it slow grind to a perfect hair. Why a slow grind? Because they give you maybe 1,500 grafts, even if you need 2,500. And what they do, they give you 1,500 now, so you can come next year again and do another 1,000. So they can keep that business running, so they can maximize also the transaction value per customer each time, because if you pay 1,500, the price per graft is usually higher than if you pay 3,000. Usually they give you a better deal if you get many grafts. So they can make more money off of you overall. They like to quote you smaller graft numbers, but higher price per graft, but overall they can make more money. So that's why I call it a slow grind. It's not as nice because then you also pay I don't think it's the best approach either. Like the same way overquoting leading to overharvesting in Turkey is not a good approach. I also think that slow grind approach is also not as good, although it ethically is good and it's not going to overharvest the donor. It's not going to, put so much pressure on it, and even the surgery will have lower risk because it's smaller number of grafts, but it may not make you happy, right? You're paying more than 10,000 probably by many guys in the US who give you 1,500 grafts, but then the result may not be as dense and nice, and then you see all the guys coming from Turkey paid 3,000 grafts getting super dense results. Then you feel like, did I get scammed or was it a ripoff? It's also not so nice. So it's good to find a middle ground here. And again, I see many doctors in the US choosing that slow grind route so they can maximize their revenue over time, over the many years, but not necessarily give the patient this amazing result right away. Not all of them are like that, but more often than not. Now, for all of you guys who are getting different quotes from different clinics, some of them are too much, some of them are too low, and you don't know which quote should you go with, feel free to also consult with me on the link below where you learn more about my consulting services. You can choose either a 30-minute or a 60-minute with me, and I'm going to be happy to shed some light on that, look at your quotes and analyze them with you so you know what makes sense and what doesn't, okay? And also don't forget to join my live class if you're interested in finding the right clinic in Turkey or overseas. I'm not going to be analyzing quotes in that live class, but I'm going to be giving you some other tips and guidance and answering questions. Now, I would like to finish off this video with where to get the best results in the US. So I'm going to end on a positive note. As it was already mentioned, the best clinics in the United States you can identify as boutique type of practices, doctors doing one patient per day, one surgery per day, sometimes even one patient in 2 days, and they have one team working with the same team, not necessarily giving you that sales approach right away and not trying to schedule you as fast as possible, not pushing you or pressuring you into a hair transplant, but actually answering a lot of your questions back and forth. I know stories from the US with the best doctors where the guy is actually responding to an actual doctor who is chatting with him on the email like 30 times before he actually books the surgery. And this is a totally different approach. You have also a much higher chance to communicate with that doctor right away. You have a much higher chance of scheduling some type of consultation with that doctor online before the surgery compared to these clinic chains where it's unable for you to do that. So make sure you always stick to these. And if you need some examples and options where you could start your research with, also check out my ebook collection with the best hair transplant clinics in 24 countries worldwide. There is United States obviously listed with more than a dozen of great options for US. And with that being said, thank you so much for watching, everybody. And I'm going to be looking forward to see you in another video. Take care.